What if the most powerful anti-aging tool for your joints, muscles, and even your brain wasn't a supplement, wasn't a pill, and wasn't locked away in some advanced fitness program, but was instead a simple primal movement that every child can do with ease? It's called the deep squat. And if you're over 60, this single movement might be one of the most important skills you can rebuild, not just to add years to your life, but to add life to your years. Here's why. Researchers studying populations in parts of Asia, Africa, and South America, regions often referred to as blue zones, where people live exceptionally long and healthy lives, have noticed something striking. Many daily activities are done from a deep squat. Cooking, washing, socializing, even resting. And what's more fascinating is that these communities show drastically lower rates of hip fractures, falls, and mobility decline compared to Western countries. From a neuroscience perspective, this isn't just about muscles or joints. The deep squat stimulates proprioception, your body's sense of balance and position in space, which is controlled by neural circuits in your cerebellum and brainstem. That means every time you practice this movement, you're strengthening not just your legs, but the very networks that prevent falls, preserve independence, and keep your brain-body connection sharp as you age. So, why does this matter after 60? Because the number one predictor of longevity isn't blood pressure, cholesterol, or even body weight. It's mobility. If you can get down and up from the ground with control, research shows you're significantly more likely to live longer, healthier, and freer. The deep squat is nature's training ground for that. In this second part of our series, we'll explore 6 science-backed insights about the deep squat, how it rebuilds lost strength, restores hip and ankle flexibility, rewires your brain for balance, protects your spine, improves circulation, and even reduces inflammation. And most importantly, I'll give you practical step-by-step tools you can start using today, even if you haven't squatted in decades, because anti-aging isn't just about looking younger, it's about moving with confidence, energy, and freedom. And the deep squat may be the single most overlooked key. Have you ever noticed how quickly we lose strength when we stop using it? Maybe it's after a long illness, an injury, or just a few months of moving less. Suddenly stairs feel steeper, chairs feel lower, and carrying groceries feels like a workout. This isn't just getting older. It's the direct effect of a biological process called sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass and strength. And here's the important truth. You can slow it, stop it, and in many cases, even reverse it. Now, why is the deep squat such a powerful tool against sarcopenia? The answer lies in how it recruits muscles. Unlike leg presses or isolated weight, machines, a full squat is what scientists call a compound movement. It engages multiple major muscle groups at the same time, the quadriceps in the front of your thighs, the hamstrings in the back, the powerful gluteal muscles, and the calves. But that's not all. It also requires your abdominal wall, spinal, stabilizers, and even your shoulders and arms to contribute to balance. In short, it's one of the most complete exercises you can perform with nothing but your own body weight. Research published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research has shown that these compound full-range movements recruit far more muscle fibers than partial or machine-based exercises. That's critical after 60 because muscle fibers, especially the fast-twitch type responsible for strength and power, begin to decline rapidly if they're not stimulated. Every deep squat is like a wake-up call to those dormant fibers, telling your body, we still need this power, don't shut it down. Here's what's happening in your brain when you squat. Motor neurons in the spinal cord send rapid-fire signals to muscles, synchronizing thousands of fibers at once. Over time, this neural activation improves efficiency, meaning you not only gain strength, but also regain the ability to recruit that strength when you need it most, like when you catch yourself from falling or rise from the floor without help. Simple tool to apply here is what I call the sit-to-stand protocol. You don't need gym equipment or heavy weights. Start by practicing controlled squats from a chair. Sit down slowly, pause, then stand up without using your hands. Repeat this 5 to 10 times, focusing on control. As you grow stronger, lower the chair height or move to squatting freely in open space. This builds the exact strength needed for everyday independence. Now, some people may wonder, what if my knees hurt when I try to squat? That's a valid concern. But more often than not, it's not the squat itself that causes pain. It's years of underuse and stiffness that make the movement feel unnatural at first. A study from the American Journal of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation found that progressive, low-load squatting actually improves knee stability and reduces pain in older adults when introduced gradually. In other words, avoiding the squat keeps you weak and stiff. Retraining the squat makes you stronger and more comfortable over time. Here's another perspective. Think about the difference between a tree that's rooted deeply into the ground versus one that's shallow and brittle. Which one weathers the storm better? The deep squat, by building strength in your largest muscles, is like driving your roots deeper into the ground. It anchors you. It makes you harder to topple, harder to injure, and more resilient to life's storms. So, the first key to anti-aging isn't exotic. It's reclaiming this primal strength pattern. Every rep is a signal to your body that you are still active, still capable, and still powerful. And if you start with small, consistent practice, you'll be surprised how quickly your legs and confidence return. One of the most overlooked markers of aging isn't wrinkles or gray hair. It's how easily you can move your hips and ankles. Think about it. When you see someone struggle to bend down, take small, shuffling steps, or avoid stairs altogether, what you're really seeing is the loss of mobility in these two critical joints. And here's the science. Restricted hip and ankle flexibility is one of the strongest predictors of falls, joint pain, and loss of independence after 60. The deep squat is unique because it doesn't just strengthen muscles, it restores the natural range of motion that most of us have lost. Watch a toddler play, and you'll see them drop into a perfect deep squat without thinking. Their hips open, their knees bend fully, and their heels stay rooted to the floor. That natural mobility is in all of us, but as we age, especially in modern environments where we spend hours in chairs and shoes that limit ankle motion, those joints stiffen. By the time we reach our 50s or 60s, many people can't even sit comfortably on the floor, let alone squat deeply. Here's what the research shows. Studies in clinical biomechanics demonstrate that deep squatting increases both hip and ankle dorsiflexion, your ability to pull the toes toward the shin, while also improving hip external rotation. Both are essential for stable, confident walking and balance recovery. Without them, every step becomes less efficient and more risky. What's happening at the brain-body level is also fascinating. When you squat deeply, proprioceptors in the hip capsule and ankle ligaments send constant feedback to the cerebellum, the balance and coordination center of your brain. Over time, this rewires your nervous system to allow smoother, more confident movement. That's why athletes, martial artists, and even dancers train deep squats. It's not just strength, it's coordination and grace. So how do you safely restore this flexibility if you haven't squatted in decades? Here's a simple tool. The wall squat stretch. Stand facing a wall with your feet slightly wider than hip width, toes pointed forward. Slowly sink into a squat while keeping your heels down and chest near the wall. The wall acts as a guide to prevent leaning too far forward. Hold the position for 20 to 30 seconds, breathing deeply. This gently opens the hips and ankles while protecting your back and knees. Another protocol is the heel lift progression. Place a small wedge or folded towel under your heels and squat down. This temporarily reduces the ankle mobility demand, allowing you to experience the deep squat position without strain. Over weeks, reduce the height of the lift until you can keep your heels flat. This is a neuroscience-backed approach known as graded exposure. You're teaching the nervous system and joints to tolerate greater ranges of motion safely. You might ask, why does this matter so much? Because the inability to bend at the hips and ankles is a hidden trap that limits life. It makes gardening difficult, getting up from the floor risky, and simple activities like tying your shoes or picking up a dropped object a challenge. Over time, This avoidance leads to less movement, weaker muscles, and even greater stiffness, a downward spiral. But here's the empowering part. Flexibility is not lost forever. Unlike height or bone density, mobility is highly trainable at any age. A study in Age and Aging showed that older adults engaging in daily mobility training, much of it squat-based, improved their joint ranges significantly in just 12 weeks, with parallel improvements in walking speed and balance confidence. Think of flexibility like the hinges on a door. When the door is rarely opened, the hinges rust and stiffen. But with regular smooth use, they remain functional for decades. Your hips and ankles are no different. Each deep squat is like oiling those hinges, keeping your body capable of moving fully and freely. So, the second key of anti-aging through squatting is restoring the freedom of movement you once had. Rebuild flexibility, and you don't just add years to your life, you add possibilities. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine walking across a dark room. You don't think about where your feet are with each step. You just move, and your body seems to know where it is in space. That remarkable sense is called proprioception, and it's one of the first abilities to decline with age. In fact, research from Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience shows that reduced proprioceptive feedback is a major contributor to balance issues and falls in older adults. The good news? You can train it, and the deep squat is one of the most effective ways to do so. Here's what's happening in your body. Embedded in your muscles, tendons, and joints are tiny receptors called mechanoreceptors. When you squat, they fire constantly, sending signals up to your spinal cord and cerebellum, which is the coordination hub of your brain. Every adjustment you make to stay balanced, shifting slightly forward, engaging the core, driving weight through the heels, is essentially your brain and body having a real-time conversation. The more you practice, the sharper that conversation becomes. Think of it like upgrading the GPS system in your car. A rusty, outdated GPS gives slow, inaccurate directions. You overshoot turns or hesitate at intersections. A well-calibrated GPS, on the other hand, keeps you smoothly on track. Proprioception works the same way. Squats calibrate your body's internal GPS so that every step, bend, and recovery from a stumble becomes smoother and more reliable. Why is this critical after 60? Because falls are not just accidents, they are neurological failures. The body senses imbalance too late, or the muscles don't fire fast enough to correct it. A study in the Journal of Geriatric Physical Therapy found that older adults who practiced proprioceptive-rich exercises like deep squats, balance drills, and step-downs reduced their fall risk by up to 45% in just a few months. That's a huge difference, one that can mean the line between independence and dependence. Here's a simple tool to begin with: the support squat hold. Stand with feet shoulder-width apart near a sturdy surface like a countertop or door frame. Slowly lower into a squat while holding lightly for balance support. Once in position, shift your weight slightly forward, back, and side to side, as if tracing a small circle with your body. These micro-adjustments train the nervous system to sense and respond to subtle shifts in balance. Over time, your brain builds faster, more accurate responses, like sharpening a reflex. Another protocol is the single-arm counterbalance squat. Hold a light object, like a small weight or even a water bottle, extended in front of you while squatting. The shifted center of gravity challenges your proprioceptors even more, enhancing your body's adaptability. Remember, the goal here isn't heavy lifting, it's nervous system training. Now, some people might think, I'll just walk more to improve my balance. Walking is valuable, yes, but it's repetitive. The nervous system thrives on variation and challenge. Deep squats provide multidirectional loading, hips, knees, and ankles moving through wide arcs, which stimulates far richer proprioceptive input than walking alone. What's fascinating is that this brain-body training doesn't just prevent falls. It also improves overall confidence in movement. Many older adults avoid activities not because they physically can't, but because they fear losing balance. By retraining proprioception through squatting, that fear begins to dissolve. And once confidence returns, movement increases naturally, creating a positive spiral of health. A study published in Neurorehabilitation and Neural Repair showed that proprioceptive training not only improved balance, but also increased connectivity in key brain regions responsible for motor control. In other words, when you practice squats, you're not just working muscles, you're literally rewiring your brain for better control. Think of your body as a symphony orchestra. Strength alone is like having powerful instruments, but without coordination, the music is chaotic. Proprioception is the conductor. It organizes timing, harmony, and precision. The deep squat trains that conductor, ensuring your movements are not only strong, but also smooth and graceful. So, the third key of anti-aging through squatting is this. Every deep squat is a neurological tune-up. You're not just preventing a fall, you're sharpening the mind-body connection that keeps you independent, agile, and confident in every step you take. When most people think about squats, their first worry is often, won't this hurt my knees or my back? That's an understandable fear, especially if you've already experienced stiffness or discomfort in those areas. But here's the surprising truth. When performed correctly, squats don't break the spine. They build it. They don't wear down your joints. They protect them. Think of the spine as the central column of your body. It's supported not only by the bones and discs themselves, but by an intricate network of muscles, your core. And here's where science gives us a powerful insight. Studies in the Journal of Biomechanics show that squatting activates the deep stabilizers of the spine, including the multifidus and transverse abdominis muscles, far more effectively than most traditional core exercises like crunches. These stabilizers are critical because they act like guy wires holding up a tent, keeping the spine upright, aligned, and resilient against strain. Here's what's happening neurologically. Every time you descend into a squat, your brain is coordinating signals to dozens of muscles across your trunk and hips to maintain balance. These muscles contract in anticipation of movement, a phenomenon called feed-forward activation. It's your nervous system bracing the spine before stress even arrives, creating a kind of preemptive protection. The more you squat, the better your brain gets at this protective reflex. Now, why does this matter so much after 60? Because spinal stability isn't just about preventing pain. It's about posture, breathing, and even digestion. When your core is weak, the spine collapses forward, compressing the lungs and abdominal organs. That's why so many older adults experience shallow breathing or digestive sluggishness. By contrast, when your spine is supported by strong, active stabilizers, you stand taller, breathe deeper, and move with far greater ease. A practical tool to build this resilience is the box squat with brace. Sit on the edge of a sturdy chair. Before standing, take a deep breath into your abdomen. Imagine inflating a balloon inside your belly. As you stand, maintain that gentle abdominal pressure. This trains the natural brace that protects your spine during movement. Over time, progress to standing without the chair, keeping that same breath-driven support. Another protocol is the tempo squat. Lower yourself slowly for a count of 3 to 5 seconds before rising. This extended time under tension strengthens not only the muscles but also the connective tissues around the spine, making them more resilient against sudden jolts or awkward movements in daily life. Some might ask, but isn't bending my back during a squat dangerous? The truth is, the spine is designed to bend, flex, and carry load. Problems arise not from movement itself, but from lack of strength and control. Avoiding spinal motion makes it weaker, not safer. As Dr. Stuart McGill, a leading spine researcher, emphasizes, controlled, well-trained movement builds resilience, while fear and avoidance lead to fragility. Here's an analogy. Imagine a bridge that's never tested by cars or weather. Over time, it weakens and becomes unsafe. But a bridge that's regularly used, inspected, and maintained grows more reliable. Your spine is the same. Squats provide the safe, repeated stress tests that keep it strong and adaptable. What's remarkable is that this protection extends beyond the back itself. A study in the Spine Journal found that older adults who engaged in regular squatting exercises not only reduced back pain, but also reported improved confidence in lifting, bending, and household activities. In other words, a strong spine isn't just about comfort. It restores freedom to move and live without fear. So the fourth key of anti-aging through squatting is core resilience. Every squat is not just a leg exercise, it's a full-body insurance policy. It trains your spine and core to anticipate, adapt, and protect you in every movement you make. That's how you safeguard independence, not by avoiding motion, but by training it with intelligence and consistency. And if this insight is helping you, consider subscribing to this channel. There's more where this came from. Practical, science-driven tools to help you move, think, and live better every single day. When people think about circulation, they usually picture the heart and blood vessels. But what often gets overlooked is that movement itself is the pump for many systems in your body. Without regular full-range motion, not only does blood circulation slow, but your joints are deprived of the nutrients they need to stay healthy. And this is where the deep squat becomes a surprisingly powerful anti-aging tool. Let's start with the joints. Unlike muscles, cartilage in your knees, hips, and ankles doesn't have its own blood supply. Instead, it relies on a fluid called synovial fluid, a slippery substance that cushions and nourishes the joints. But here's the catch. Synovial fluid only circulates when the joint is moved through its range of motion. If you spend most of your day sitting, standing, or only walking short distances, your joints aren't getting that vital nutrition. Over time, they stiffen, weaken, and become prone to arthritis. Here's what the research shows. Studies in arthritis and rheumatism demonstrate that regular, controlled movement increases the distribution of synovial fluid and helps maintain cartilage integrity. The deep squat is one of the most effective movements for this because it takes the hips, knees, and ankles through their full arc, literally feeding the joints with every repetition. Now, let's talk about circulation more broadly. When you squat, the large muscles of your legs contract powerfully, squeezing veins and helping push blood back toward the heart. This is called the muscle pump effect, and it's essential after 60 because vascular elasticity naturally declines with age. In fact, research in the European Journal of Applied Physiology shows that lower body exercises like squats significantly improve venous return and reduce swelling in the legs, a common issue for older adults. But the benefits don't stop there. Squatting also improves lymphatic flow, the body's waste disposal and immune system highway. Unlike blood, lymph has no central pump. It moves only when your muscles contract. Each squat is like flipping the switch on a natural detox system, helping clear metabolic waste and reduce systemic inflammation. So how do you start reaping these benefits safely? One practical tool is the pulse squat. Stand with feet shoulder-width apart, sink into a comfortable squat, not too deep at first, and gently pulse up and down in a small range. These micro-movements bathe the joints in synovial fluid without overloading them. Aim for sets of 10 to 20 pulses, breathing steadily. Another simple protocol is the movement snack. Instead of one long session, integrate squats throughout your day. Every hour, perform 3 to 5 squats, using a chair or countertop for support if needed. Research in medicine and science in sports and exercise highlights that frequent movement snacks throughout the day are just as beneficial, if not more so, than a single workout in terms of improving circulation and joint health. Now, you may be thinking, but won't moving my knees so much wear them down faster? The opposite is true. It's immobility, not movement, that accelerates joint degeneration. Think of a door hinge. When left unused, it rusts and stiffens. But when it's opened and closed regularly, with a little oil, it lasts for decades. Your joints are no different. Motion is the oil, and the deep squat is the full swing of the hinge. Here's something even more fascinating. Better circulation from squats doesn't just benefit your legs and joints, it boosts brain health. A study in Frontiers in Physiology found that leg muscle activity directly increases blood flow to the brain, improving oxygen delivery and cognitive performance. In other words, every squat is both joint nutrition and brain fuel. So the fifth key of anti-aging through squatting is this: movement feeds the body. Each deep squat nourishes your joints, strengthens your circulation, and keeps your systems flowing like a well-oiled machine. You're not just exercising, you're replenishing your body at the deepest level. We often think of exercise as just burning calories or building muscle. But science is clear. Movement, especially strength-based movement like squatting, is a biochemical event. Every contraction of your muscles releases powerful, signaling molecules into your bloodstream, messengers that influence inflammation, metabolism, even brain function. These molecules are called myokines, and researchers now call them the medicine of exercise. Here's why this matters so much after 60. Low-grade chronic inflammation, sometimes called inflammaging, is one of the primary drivers of age-related decline. It contributes to arthritis, heart disease, diabetes, and even neurodegenerative conditions like Alzheimer's. But studies published in Nature Reviews Immunology reveal that resistance training triggers myokine release, which acts like an anti-inflammatory shield throughout the body. In other words, every time you squat, you're instructing your muscles to send out healing signals that calm down systemic inflammation. But the story gets even better. Deep squats also stimulate hormonal pathways essential for maintaining vitality. For instance, they increase the production of growth hormone and testosterone, two hormones that naturally decline with age and are directly tied to muscle preservation, bone density, and energy levels. A study in the Journal of Applied Physiology showed that lower body compound movements, such as squats, elevate these hormones far more effectively than isolated exercises like bicep curls. From a brain perspective, exercise-induced myokines such as irisin cross the blood-brain barrier and promote neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections. That means squatting doesn't just make your legs stronger, it may literally help keep your brain sharper. Animal studies published in Cell Metabolism found that irisin triggered by exercise improved memory and reduced Alzheimer's-like pathology. While more research in humans is ongoing, the evidence is highly promising. Here's a practical tool to maximize these benefits: the cluster squat set. Instead of doing 10 squats all at once, try doing them in mini clusters, 2 or 3, at a time with short rests in between. This creates repeated surges in muscle activation and myokine release without overwhelming fatigue, especially useful if you're rebuilding strength later in life. Another simple protocol is the morning squat routine. Perform 5 slow, controlled squats upon waking. This not only lubricates joints and kickstarts circulation, but also sets off an early hormonal cascade that supports energy and focus throughout the day. Think of it like flipping on your internal pharmacy as soon as you rise. Now, some might wonder, isn't inflammation just part of aging? The answer is yes and no. Acute inflammation, like the swelling after a cut or infection, is protective, but chronic background inflammation is harmful. Squatting and other resistance exercises shift the balance back toward healing, creating what researchers call an anti-inflammatory phenotype. This is one of the key reasons physically active older adults consistently live longer, healthier lives than sedentary peers. Here's an analogy. Imagine your body as a city. Chronic inflammation is like smoldering fires breaking out all over. Small, constant, and draining resources. Myokines are the firefighters, dispatched by your muscles every time you move, putting out those fires before they spread. The more often you recruit them, through squats, the safer, cleaner, and more efficient your city becomes. What's inspiring is that these benefits accumulate. A single squat session boosts myokines temporarily, but consistent practice leads to lasting changes in how your body regulates inflammation and hormones. It's not about perfection or heavy weights, it's about consistency and frequency. So the sixth key of anti-aging through squatting is this. You're not just training muscles, you're training your biology to fight inflammation, balance, hormones, and protect your brain. Every deep squat is a signal to your body that you are not just surviving, but actively building resilience against the effects of aging. We've now explored the deep squat from 6 different scientific angles, and together, they reveal a powerful truth. This one simple movement isn't just an exercise, it's a complete anti-aging protocol for the body and the brain. Let's briefly recap. First, squatting rebuilds lost strength, reversing sarcopenia, and waking up dormant muscle fibers that keep you strong and capable. Second, it restores hip and ankle flexibility, reclaiming the natural movement patterns we were all born with and preventing the stiffening spiral that limits independence. Third, it rewires the brain for balance and coordination, sharpening proprioception and reducing fall risk, literally retraining your nervous system to move with confidence. Fourth, it protects the spine and builds core resilience, activating the stabilizers that keep posture upright and the back pain free. Fifth, it boosts circulation and joint nutrition, feeding cartilage, improving venous return, and even enhancing brain blood flow. And sixth, it activates anti-inflammatory and hormonal benefits, turning every squat into a biochemical signal that reduces chronic inflammation, balances hormones, and supports cognitive health. What ties all these together is a deeper principle. The body thrives on movement that is natural, full range, and repeated consistently over time. The deep squat is not a punishment, not a gym-only maneuver, but a primal human position, one that children adopt with ease and many long-lived cultures maintain for life. Now, you may be wondering, where do I begin? The answer is, begin where you are. If you can't squat to the floor, start from a chair. If your ankles are tight, use a heel lift. If balance is shaky, hold on to a support. Progression, not perfection, is the goal. What matters most is sending that daily signal to your muscles, joints, and brain. We still use this. We still need this. Don't shut it down. Here's a challenge for you. Starting today, add just 3 sets of 5 squats into your daily routine. That's it. Maybe it's before breakfast, after lunch, and before bed. If you need a chair, use one. If you can go deeper, do it. Track how you feel over the next 30 days. Notice the changes, not just in your strength, but in your balance, posture, and confidence moving through daily life. Because anti-aging isn't about turning back the clock. It's about slowing it down and filling the hours you do have with vitality, freedom, and presence. And the science is clear. The deep squat is one of the most effective, accessible, and primal ways to do exactly that. If this series has given you insights, I invite you to join this community by liking this video, leaving a comment with your experience, and subscribing for more science-backed tools like this one. Together, we're not just exercising. We're rewriting the story of aging into one of resilience, energy, and possibility. So tomorrow morning, before you reach for your phone or your coffee, try one small experiment. Stand tall, take a breath, and sink slowly into a squat. Feel your body wake up, your joints open, your balance engage, and your mind sharpen. That single act may be the most powerful anti-aging medicine you'll take today.